Hello viewers, I am Mr. Dilip Kumar Pal, today present before you a very significant topic in political theory, that is deliberative democracy or discursive democracy. You know it very well that in political theory, democracy is an important concept. And in the world today, democracy is an incomparable government. It is such a type of government which has no alternatives. But today we will discuss a category of democracy which is deliberative democracy or discursive democracy. Okay, my viewers, we'll start. Deliberative democracy or discursive democracy. Before we discuss what is a deliberative democracy or discursive democracy, we must know first of all a few lines about democracy. Once we'll know a few lines about democracy, definitely we'll have an interest to know about deliberative democracy, which is a category of democracy. Okay, my students, we'll start. In the world today, democracy is a very popular form of government. It is such a form of government which has no alternative. And in the world, in 3/4 areas of the world, democracy prevails. And democracy has many categories, like procedural democracy, deliberative democracy, and substantive democracy or functional democracy. But no doubt, democracy has many categories like procedural democracy, deliberative democracy, and substantive democracy. But deliberative democracy is a very important category of democracy. Deliberative democracy is otherwise known as discursive democracy. And this deliberative democracy was coined for the first time by Joseph Bessity. Joseph Bessity was the first man who told about deliberative democracy. In his work, the deliberative democracy, the majority principle in Republican government, published in the year 1980. In this book, he told for the first time about deliberative democracy. So what was the name of the book? Deliberative Democracy, the majority principle in Republican government. But Joseph Bessity explained this idea in another book which was published in 1994. It was Mild Voice of Reason. In this book, he explained it. But the deliberative democracy was no doubt coined for the first time by Joseph Bessity, but it was popularized by some writers like Carlos Nino, John Gastil, David Hale, Josna Cohen, James Triskin and John Rawls. RAWLS. These writers have popularized the deliberative democracy. So, deliberative democracy is an important category of democracy. So, what is deliberative democracy? Deliberative democracy has a simple meaning and an authentic meaning. So, what is deliberative democracy in simple language? In simple language, or in plain language, or in the language of laymen, deliberative democracy is a democracy which speaks that before any decision is taken, there must be discussion, discourse and debate on that decision. After a lot of discussion, deliberation, discourse and debate, a decision must be taken. To make it more clear, a decision of the government in relation to public interest should not be taken haphazardly or all of a sudden. It must be taken, the decision must be taken after a lot of discussions, deliberations, discourse and debates. By this, the decision of the government will be accurate, will be fruitful and will be a better one. This is what deliberative democracy in simple language or the language of common people. But what is deliberative democracy appropriately? Appropriately deliberative democracy means it has 5 important principles. The first principle of deliberative democracy is that it believes in deliberations before decision. Number 2, discussions on the basis of accurate information and evidence. Number 3, alternative proposal must be discussed. Number 4, involvement of decision makers, people representative, supporters and opponents of decision. Last one, final decision by unanimous decision primarily and majority support secondarily. So these are the 5 important principles of deliberative democracy which we will discuss one by one. So appropriately deliberative democracy means it has mainly 5 important principles. The first principle of deliberative democracy is that it believes in deliberation before decision. It means before any decision will be taken by the government about public interest, discussions must be made, deliberations must be made, debate must be made on that decision. A decision should not be taken all of a sudden. A decision should not be taken haphazardly. But before a decision is taken, there must be deliberation, discussions on that decision, on the topic. After that, a decision will be taken. Okay? Very good. Number 2. Discussions on the basis of accurate information and evidence. Another principle of deliberative democracy is that it says, no doubt discussions should be made before taking any decision. But that the decision must be based on accurate informations and evidences. Discussion should not be made on false ground. Decisions should not be made on any important, without any important information. Whenever decisions should be made, discussions must be made, and discussions should be based on accurate informations and accurate evidences. Without accurate informations and accurate evidences, this decision should not be made, and if discussion will be made without evidence and informations, decision may become wrong, which is very injurious for the country. Number 3, another important principle of deliberative democracy is that alternative proposal must be discussed. Whenever any decision will be taken, its alternative decisions must be glanced. Its alternative decisions, its alternative proposals must be considered. After taking into consideration alternative proposals, the right proposal will have to be accepted and right decision will have to be taken. It means before taking any decision, its alternative must be studied. After that, out of many alternatives, a right alternative must be chosen. Okay, viewers. Number 4, involvement of decision makers, people's representatives, supporters and opponents of decisions. Whenever any decision will be taken by the government, at the time there must be discussions. But in the discussions, many people will have to be involved, like decision makers, representatives of people. Number 3, supporters of decision. And number 4, opponents of decisions. So, whenever any decision will be taken, there must be discussion, and in the discussion, people of varieties of angles must be made involved. Like decision makers must be there. Number 2, representatives of people must be there. Number 3, supporters of decision must be there. Number 4, opponents of decision must be there. They must discuss before taking any decision. And another important principle of deliberative democracy is final decision by unanimous decision primarily and majority support secondarily. It means whenever a decision will be taken, that decision must be taken unanimously. It means that decision must be taken which will be supported by all, which must be agreed by all. If the participants will have an agreement, it is all right. If there will be a disagreement, then decision will be taken by the majority votes. If there will not be any unanimous decision, then there is no point that decision should not be taken. Decision will have to be taken by the majority votes. So, deliberative democracy, in simple language, it is a type of democracy where whenever any decision will be made or whenever the government will take a decision, there must be discussion about the decision. And appropriately, deliberative democracy means, first of all, whenever any decision will be taken by the government, there must be discussion. Number two, whenever discussions will be made about a decision, then the discussion must be based on accurate information and evidences. Number three, whenever any decision will be taken, its alternative proposal must be discussed. Number five, whenever any discussion will be made about a decision, then supporters of the decision, opponents of the decision, decision makers and representative people must be involved. Finally, whenever a decision will be taken, it must be taken unanimously. But if unanimity decision will not be possible, then decision will be taken by the majority votes. So in this video you are clear about an important concept of political theory, which is deliberative democracy or discursive democracy. But James S. Fiskin has told that before any decision will be taken by the government, these 5 important principles must be taken into consideration. First of all, information. It means whenever participants will participate in the discussion, it means whenever participants will participate in the discussion to take a decision, they must have correct information. On the basis of correct information, they will have to make argument. Number 2, substantive balance. It means there must be comparison among the alternatives. Whenever any decision will be taken, its alternatives must be compared. This is what substantive balance. And number 3, diversity. It means whenever a decision will be taken, its alternatives must be considered. Its alternative must be considered. It is diversity. The fourth one is consciousness. It means the views of all the persons must be given importance. Whenever there will be a discussion, views of all the persons must be given importance. It is consciousness. Okay, conscientiousness. Last one is equal consideration. It means whenever there will be discussion, the weight should be given to a view which is based on informations and evidences, and importance should not be given to the argument which is being given by an important person. To make it more clear, equal consideration means whenever there will be discussion to take a decision, at the time importance should be given to the argument which is based on evidences, and importance should not be given to the argument which is being made by a influential person. So this is what the idea of James S. Fiskin on deliberative democracy. He said that in order to take a right decision in democracy, the 5 alternatives must be considered, like information, number 2, substantive balance, number 3, diversity, number 4, conscientiousness, number 5, equal constitution. So in this video you are clear about the principles of deliberative democracy. But now we'll discuss what are the problems of deliberative democracy for which it has been criticized. Number one, according to some critics, in deliberative democracy, every decision will be taken after a lot of discussion. So it is time consuming, it is time taking, it is injurious for the interest of the country. Number two, some critics view that in deliberative democracy there will be discussion by supporters of a decision and opponents of the decision. By this, there will be conflicts, tussles among the peoples. It will create a very bad environment in the country. To make it more clear, whenever any decision will be taken, there must be arguments among the participants, and it creates a very noisy situation. It leads to tussles among the participants, and it will create a very bad environment in the country. So my viewers, in this video we are clear what is deliberative or discursive democracy in simple language, what it is authentically, and what weak points it possesses. So I have full confidence that my viewers will get sufficient clarity from this video about deliberative democracy, and they must be clear about deliberative democracy and who are the supporters of deliberative democracy. Thank you, my viewers. Again, we will be here with another video. If you will like this video, you will give comment, subscribe my channel so that you will be benefited. Thank you. Goodbye, my viewers.